While we learn about the opposition on the pitch, Wiser learns how to heat my home.
Rob, good start to the week. We've got another new signing coming in, Aidon Davis. Tell us a little bit about him and what's appealing here in terms of getting him here.
Well, obviously, like anything, we are losing back five forwards. People are aware of that, and we've probably ended up a little bit thin this year with international call-ups and injuries, and so probably made me aware. We just, for obvious reason, if you lose players, you need to replace them. Sometimes you can do that by promoting from within as younger players start to take those slots on, and we've got some potential there. You know, if you look at the performance of someone like Daffy Jenkins, been absolutely fantastic for us. Richard Capstick's really starting to grow and stand up in there. Obviously, we're expecting Chris Chizunza to start to be around in there as well. So we have got that ability to kind of grow from within. Obviously, there's further opportunities for guys like Will Whitty. So there's those opportunities there. Obviously, Rushi Tamua has probably missed an opportunity to get a fair bit of game time with his injury. So we are looking to strengthen a little bit there. Obviously, Aidon, when you're looking in the market, you look at the players who are available, you start to assess them, you start to see how they're playing. And when I had a good look at him, I really like what I saw. He's funny. He's quite a big guy, but not hugely tall. But yet he plays a fair bit in the second row. When he's in the second row, he's a good second row. So it's an interesting one. He gives us that additional kind of strength across the back five. But he's also a guy who wants to be involved in the game. And I think more than anything else, that's what I wanted to see from our back five forwards. So I looked at him. I'm coding a guy who wants to be on the ball. He wants to carry hard. He wants to get involved in the collision game. He likes scrummaging and mauling. You know, those basic qualities that we just really needed there, and that means I think he'll fit in really well.
Speaking to him, he's a typical South African, and we've seen the likes of Giannis and Jacques, both of whom he's played with in the past, what they can bring, that real physicality. That's a very strong trait of a South African.
It is, but I think also the key for him really is that there's something still left in his rugby career that he wants to succeed. He wants to. He's another guy who's still got a dream of winning something or being in those big games at the end of a season when you're really fighting for something special. And that's what I want. I also want. You know, I'm not just going for guys who kind of you would think would be the natural replacements for Johnny Hill, who's played for the British Lions now, or Sam Skinner, who's an established international. You know, I want someone who's not had their dream yet. You know, hasn't played international rugby, maybe hasn't won a big trophy, and that there's a real new energy and a new drive and a new dynamic about them. And you know, I'm looking at that as one of the most important traits of people we bring in. If I don't mind telling you, because I think that's the key. You know, it doesn't mean that established players can't find that, because they can. And I'm actually seeing that kind of rekindling. Actually, I think, interestingly, I actually think this season where we're having to battle for a top four space, I'm actually seeing it rekindle in probably guys a little bit more than perhaps would have been if he were a little bit more comfortable. So I'm quite pleased to see that, and I think that will be a key for us. I actually think this battle we're in at the moment is the key to us having a chance of winning the Premiership more than anything else, because if we show our form now and we win important games, because we're going to have to, we'll probably enter that final stage of it if we get in the top four in pretty good nick. But we have to, because we'll have to have been winning games. So that will hold us in good stead.
You've lost Hill, Gray, Skinner and Simmons to Six Nation period. The importance of having him for the whole season comes into your mindset now with really planning for future.
Definitely, well, that's the balance we've got to get. You know, the reality is an EPS player in particular will miss over half your Premiership games if he's playing with England. Your other internationals will miss nearly as many. So having the balance across your squad to deal with those periods when they're not here, particularly now with the expanded league, means there's going to be more games, more Premiership games within that there are clashes. You just have to try and get that balance across your squad, and it creates a lot of opportunities for people, which is great. But it also creates challenges for clubs, and we want to be a team that's thereabouts at the end of every season. So we've got to get that balance right.
That's 3 new signings now. Is your makeup for next season getting what you want it to be now?
Yeah, not far off. I think we could still be one lock forward, probably off a little bit when you look at who's gone out the squad. But that's a slot, and obviously we might have a position for one more back as well, depending on a situation with Ollie Devoto around his hip injury. So we're keeping our eyes open and we're looking at things. But on the whole, I think I know there was when a couple of players announced they were leaving, suddenly people thinking there could be an exodus. there's not anybody else front line leaving. So everyone else has either accepted that they're staying or has had taken on new extended contracts. So we're a pretty settled squad, and we've got some good. I think we've got some good players coming in. So I'm liking the look of where we stand next season already.
I was going to say some of those youngsters have shown just these last few weeks, those Prem Cup games, that they are more than ready to step up.
Yeah, well, when you think about it now, we've got Harry Williams back playing now, and we've got Marcus Street back playing now, who was already starting to become an established Premiership player, but obviously he's had a long-term neck injury. And in that time, you look at what Pat Schickling's done. He's starting to look like a real deal, like he can really perform at Premiership level, and there's a lot more to come from him. Joshua Sofa-Scott now has probably played more Premiership rugby than we initially thought he would in this initial period, and has shown that he's very capable of it. Some work for him to do, and he's aware of that and aware of it. But he's a big man who gets around and can do some damage, and he will only get better. We've had Sam Nixon in, who did a great job for us, kind of as an injury dispensation player. Unfortunately, he's picked up an injury, but we found some quality in those areas. It's given great opportunities for a guy like James Kenny to get more game time. Great opportunity for Jack Inard to start to come through. Max Norrie start to look the kind of player he might become. As I've mentioned before, Richard Capstick is kind of thriving in a lot of ways in the role he's had. Santiago Grondona. We kind of looked and went, we're getting a bit thin here. We brought him in, and he's actually started to play a fair bit. Looks a good player. He's going to be around next season as well as a better player. So things are progressing for us, but that's what we've got to do. We've got to stay on a nice upward curve.